Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. How exactly are the Texans going to slow down the New Orleans Saints on offense? And what can we expect from Alvin Kamara as he's made his way back? And what can we expect for him against this Texans defense? He scares me a little bit. The quarterback doesn't. We'll talk about it. Take your questions. Create our Texans Underdog Fantasy Pick'em entry this week. So much coming your way on the video tonight. If you're live, we want you in the comment section. If you're watching this after the fact, we still want you in the comment section. Check out in the description down below Houston Football. It's my website where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans. A free final thoughts and score prediction article going out tomorrow morning. So subscribe now if you're seeing it, and you can read that tomorrow morning. Or if you're watching this the next day, you can read that right now over at Houston Football. On your way to the description, throw me a thumbs up for a like on this channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Plenty of fun stuff to get to tonight. Appreciate everybody in the comment section. We'll get to your comments as we go throughout the show this evening. Texans and Saints. The 3-2 Saints, the 2-3 Texans. Texans coming into this matchup off the loss in Atlanta, where the defense got roughed up by Desmond Ridder. And that was a poor performance overall by the defense in some key moments. Now, the defense worked with a shorthandedness at the cornerback spot. They thought Shaq Griffin was going to be able to go. He couldn't go. Kadar Holman's in there. And it just wasn't as cohesive and put together as they have been on defense at different times throughout the course of the year. And ultimately, they only give up a handful of points. The offense could have helped them out a little bit more. But those long drives that allowed the Falcons to stay on the field, run the ball when they needed to run the ball, and Desmond Ridder having a career day against the Texans defense, that's not good. And then you think about what the New Orleans Saints have, and it gets a little scary. Derek Carr is better than Desmond Ridder. I know he's kind of banged up right now, and he's had a slow start to the season. We'll get to that in a moment. But Chris Olave is one of the best players when you smash the Falcons and the Saints, two teams together. Olave is incredible. He's probably the best offensive player in the entire group. Alvin Kamara is not as physically impressive as Bijan Robinson, but he's obviously a well-thought-of running back in the NFL. Michael Thomas is still a tough out, and they have a really solid offensive line to the New Orleans Saints. So that's something that is going to be tough for this Texans defense. They got to get home on Derek Carr. They got to make sure that Alvin Kamara is not taking care of them to any large degree. Let's talk a little bit about the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr, through 5 games, is off to his worst start in his NFL career through 5 games. That's right. Through 5 games, Carr is off to his worst start in his NFL career. Most of the time through 5 games, Derek Carr has about 7-8 touchdowns on the season, and he's well over 1,000 yards. Derek Carr's got 4 touchdowns and 946 yards passing. It has not been all green on the other side like Derek Carr thought it was when he left the Las Vegas Raiders. He's coming off these 3 performances throwing the football. 103 passing yards, 127 passing yards, 183 passing yards. Now, the 183 is a little misleading because they were blowing out the New England Patriots, and they decided to run the ball a ton when they were blowing them out. But Carr's got 3 touchdown passes over the past 3 games. He got smoked by Tampa Bay. He looked terrible against Tampa. He probably shouldn't have been playing in that game because he's got the shoulder injury, and that's something that's still lingering for Carr. He's still got that shoulder issue that you're not sure how much it's affecting him. Yes, he's a full participant in practice, but that's got to be taking something out of Derek Carr. That's got to be taking something off of his ability to put the ball exactly where he wants, the zip, the trust that he has in throwing the football. That's got to be taking something out of him in his approach, and you don't know how it's going to respond if he gets hit. He's been sacked in every game at least twice this season. If he gets hit a bunch, a couple quarterback hits, couple sacks, you don't know how that shoulder is going to respond. He lands on it wrong. Next thing you know, Jameis Winston's coming in to the game. So Carr has not played well. It hasn't been as easy as I'm sure he thought it was going to be when he went to a brand new team. It's looked okay at times, but you start thinking about this Texans defense, and yeah, Desmond Ridder had some success against them, but Kenny Pickett was kind of limited in what he could do in throwing the football. The Texans really feasted on him. The Texans made Trevor Lawrence day hell in Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago. And when you start thinking about the guys they're getting back, Shaq Griffin should play tomorrow. Well, that's the guy that you would start opposite Steven Nelson. Tavier Thomas should play tomorrow. That's a guy that helps out a ton in your nickel defense setup. And he hasn't been available. Shaq Griffin wasn't available last week. You get those two guys back, and all of a sudden, I'm looking around, and it becomes pretty difficult for the Saints to go out there and throw the ball on a consistent basis and move the ball up and down the field, extend drives. If the Texans are having some success stopping the run, which we'll talk about Kamara and the situation with the rushing attack here in just a moment. But Carr's not a scary quarterback, and really, I would have told you the same thing about Desmond Ridder a week ago. In fact, I thought Desmond Ridder was going to get benched in that game and we were going to see Taylor Heineke. That's not who I wanted to see. Ultimately, Ridder got it going. But you have to imagine, DeMeco Ryans, he has had a week now, got two corners back that he's going to trust. They've shored some things up in the passing attack or passing defense. The passing attack for the Saints is not going to attack them the way that Atlanta did and make Derek Carr look like Desmond Ridder, who looked like prime Matt Ryan last week in Atlanta. That's not going to happen again. So I don't know how the Saints move the ball through the air on a consistent basis. The one thing I will tell you about what the Saints bring to the table, yes, they've given up some sacks, but they do pass protect well enough for Carr to take some shots. He's completed the second most deep balls of 40-plus yards. So plays or passing plays that go for 40 or more yards, he's got the second most in the league. So they are a big play type offense. Matt Burke even mentioned that when I asked him about Derek Carr this week. He said, look, he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He gives them a high level of operation, and they've added a little bit more deep ball success since he's been there. You think about some of the deep ball success that Carr had with the Raiders. He's brought that over to the Saints. Again, second in the NFL in pass plays that go for 40 or more yards. And that's something to pay attention to because that's how you can make up for an inefficient passing offense is if you hit a couple of big plays. And that is something the Saints have been able to showcase in the first 5 weeks of the season. Take away the big play, you force Carr to beat you. I don't believe the Saints can take care of business in that form and fashion. If they've got to get into a track meet with you, that does not work out very well at all for the New Orleans Saints. I would hope that if you're the Texans, you can get them into a bit of a track meet, force Carr to throw the ball a bunch of times, have them keep the ball out of Alvin Kamara's hands from a rushing standpoint, and just try to really get after Carr and take advantage of the fact that the Saints have not had a clean game as an offense from keeping Carr upright. You bang him up a little bit, the shoulder's not 100%, and they can't throw the ball. They can't beat you in Sunday's game. What do you think? Let's talk to some of you, and let's go through some of the comments here as we get into this Saints and Texans matchup. Appreciate everybody joining live. You're joining after the fact. Hit the comment section anyway. Good to see you, Andrew. Rick, thanks for coming by. Dane, thank you. Frank Z. DeQuan, Chung Fung, good to see you. Hey, glad you made it for the first time in the live, Andrew. Appreciate you stopping by. Cody, Hefe, DGMT, appreciate you. Sean, see you in here before. Audio 890. Want to shout you out before I go to sleep and listen to this video tomorrow at work. Appreciate you for checking us out tomorrow while you're at work. You're probably already watching this at work when you see this. Gunner, good to see you in here. Daquan, need DB or CB help? You're getting it. You're going to get it this week. You're going to get it this week with Shaq Griffin coming back, Tavier Thomas being back in the game. Those are two big additions, coming back from injury, two big additions for this team here. There's not going to be, I wouldn't think, any trades or significant moves from that standpoint with this team in the next couple of weeks, but you get Shaq Griffin back. Eventually down the road, you're going to get Derek Stingley back, and you start thinking about a secondary that is as strong as we expected this secondary to be. EB, good to see you. Yeah, shootout to me favors the Texans. I know a lot of the Saints fans believe they can move the rock, but I don't see it. I don't see how they're going to be able to move the rock through the air. Okay. John, appreciate you jumping in. Pedro L asks, what's the best bar to watch the Texans game? So J Bar M, it's over in East Downtown. It's over in Edo. J Bar M, they do a fantastic job. They got a great brunch spread. They do a lot of their barbecue with the brunch. They got a good bar, inside, outside, a lot of TVs. They'll put the game on for you. Check out J Bar M. That's a really good one. I'm pretty partial to a Pluckers, just a good old-fashioned Pluckers. Man, they'll take care of you. But yeah, J Bar M would be my recommendation for a non-chain. And if you want to go chainy, then I would go with a little bit of Pluckers. Jake's getting in with a prediction early, 28-17. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Texans have kept CJ pretty clean. Real clean, actually. They're going to start the same offensive line for the second week in a row. So they had the same O-line from week 2 to week 3, and then it changed. They've got the same O-line from week 5 now to week 6 now. So Laramie, Titus, Patterson, Mason, Fant, left to right. Christian Harris coming back. I would expect Harris to be available. He was practicing this week, but concussions and clearing concussion protocols always a little bit up in the air, so I'm not going to guarantee it, but I would expect him to be back. That's another guy. That guy can help you with coverage. He can help you with covering tight ends. That's an athletic freak to add to the equation in the coverage standpoint and just kind of make Derek Carr's day a lot longer. I think Will Anderson's getting a second sack tomorrow. I agree. He got a tough matchup with Ryan Ramczyk. Ramczyk's one of the best offensive tackles in all of football, especially on the right side. You got a tough matchup, but I believe Will's getting the second one and maybe a third one tomorrow. The Saints are susceptible to giving up a couple of sacks. Gunner says the one positive is Carr is not an elite QB, never has been. He's a solid game manager, but he's currently learning a new system and new skill positions all around him. Yeah, you got to think that the shoulder kind of, being banged up, he hadn't had as much time to practice and things like that. That's something to pay attention to. Just, does Carr look like Carr tomorrow in the game? Because, again, through 5 weeks of this season, it's his worst start ever in the NFL. His worst start ever. Usually he's about 8 touchdown passes through 5 weeks. He's got 4. Usually he's well over 1,000 yards. In fact, 1 year through 5 games, he had 1,600 passing yards. He's got 940-something passing yards right now. Now, stats aren't everything, but, man, it's looked pretty bad at different times for Carr this year. So I'm not expecting a lot out of Derek Carr. You tailgating tomorrow? I'll be around. You guys hit me on Twitter, Instagram, places like that. If you're out tailgating, I'd love to come by and say hello to you. So, all right, a couple more here, and then we'll get into Devon. Okay. I got a hunch this is not the real John McClain, but on the chance that it is, hi, John McClain.
Hey, Cody. How are you?
I'm doing great, John. Fake
It's John McClain. Hey,
what's your question, fake John McClain?
what grade will you give the Texans after they win tomorrow against the Saints?
I would probably give them an A plus. Thank you, fake John McClain. I didn't expect the fake John McClain to pop in here, but yeah, McClain's grades, legendary reading material the day after a Texans game. So we talked about Derek Carr a little bit to get this thing going. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. I'm scared to death of Alvin Kamara. Kamara, tomato, potato, patata. I'm scared to death of this guy. He is not Bijan Robinson from a physical standpoint, but he's a veteran. He knows how to make guys miss. He's shifty. He knows exactly how to operate in this offense, and they trust him. And I start to think about how, yes, the rushing attack for the Falcons was bad in the first half last week, But in the second half, they moved the ball just enough on the ground that they were able to extend drives. They were able to wear down the Texans. And you start to think about Alvin Kamara now. And the defensive line for the Texans, once he gets past them, I mean, some of the missed tackles that this secondary and these linebackers have had, I can just already see Henry To'o falling off of Alvin Kamara not being able to tackle him. I can already see Denzel Perryman, slipping off of Kamara as he gets to the third level against the safeties. Like, I am worried that if Kamara gets going, not only will they be able to move the ball on the ground, but that'll help Carr settle down. That'll take some of the pressure off of him. And it's a really tough matchup for this Texans team. Now, one of the benefits of where the Texans are right now is they do a pretty decent job from the edge in slowing down the opposing rushing attack. So from a defensive end standpoint, in run stop win rate, okay? Run stop win rate. It's hard to say, but basically it's edge defenders who beat their man and get to the running back or force the running back to make a decision. And ultimately, it's a big positive for the defense. The Texans have two of the top three guys. Will Anderson's number one. Jonathan Grenard is number three. So I'm not as worried about Kamara when Anderson's on the field and Grenard's on the field, along with Sheldon Rankins and Malik Collins. Like, I'm not as worried when those four guys are on the field. I'm worried when Kurt Hinish is on the field. I'm worried when Jerry Hughes is on the field. I'm worried when Dylan Horton's on the field. So those are the players that I'm worried about, and the Texans rotate their defensive linemen a fair amount, and so you may have some success with Will and Jonathan Grenard on the field, and then next thing you know, Dylan Horton and Jerry Hughes are out there, and Kamara's ripping off a 7-8 yard gain. So I'm worried about Alvin Kamara. Now, if you have Christian Harris back, Tavier Thomas is a good tackler from the secondary. Shaq Griffin's a good tackler from the secondary. Perryman, To'o with another week of practice together, putting them on the field together. I mentioned Harris coming back. The edge guys having success off the edge. You might be able to slow down Alvin Kamara. You might be able to put the Saints in a real pickle here where if they're not forcing you into a short field, or if they're not getting a short field because their defense took care of business, or you're playing field position games with them, you might be able to beat up on this Saints team a little bit when you start thinking about, hey, everything's going right. But it's when you have subs in there, when you have one or two linebackers on the field instead of three linebackers, when it's not Jonathan Grenard and it's not Will Anderson on the edge, that's when I start thinking about, hey, Kamara getting going, them throwing the ball to him, and then if he gets going and he's able to move the ball on the ground, wear down the defense, makes things a lot easier for Derek Carr. Like, they've got to protect Derek Carr tomorrow. And I don't just mean keep the Texans from putting pressure on Derek Carr. Like, they can't have him be the reason they win the game. He's not capable of it right now. Now, maybe the Texans defense is horrendous against the pass, and a guy like Carr can come in and dice him up just like Desmond Ridder did. But I have faith that D'Amico Ryans has cleaned up a lot of the stuff that worked for Ridder, so you're not going to be able to do that. And Carr's off to the worst start of his career. So that's when I think leaning on Alvin Kamara, couple of run plays with Taysom Hill in there as well. And you start thinking about, okay, here's how the Saints are moving the ball. Here's how the Saints are getting into field goal range. Maybe they put some threes on the board early, put a little pressure on the Texans. Or if by chance the interception streak ends or the no interception streak ends for CJ Stroud and the Saints get a short field, it's a lot easier to see how they're going to score that way. So Alvin Kamara scares me when Derek Carr doesn't scare me whatsoever. But I have faith, especially when you saw a half of really good football, I have faith that they can slow down Alvin Kamara. And if you're slowing down Kamara and Carr is playing as poorly as he has been playing, then you start to see exactly how this thing is going to go the Texans' way and how they're going to be able to put up just enough points to beat the New Orleans Saints. But again, Alvin Kamara gets loose, gets going. Could be a long day for the Texans defense, and could be a long day for anybody watching the game. a couple questions you guys want to get to in the comments section. Get in the comments section. If you will go to the top of the comment section, the super chat is the way to go. Brown Chubby, I'm hearing conflicting things about Tank. Is there a possibility he plays on Sunday? Possibility, yes. Likely, no. I would tell you possibility, yes. Likely, no. It's very hard. I believe there's only been one offensive player to have a concussion on a Sunday and play the following Sunday this season in the NFL. And that was Gus Edwards, the running back for the Baltimore Ravens. It's very tough to clear concussion protocol that fast. And you can practice even when you're in the protocol and still not finish, clearing the protocol all the way till you're playing in the game. I would not expect Tank Dell to play on Sunday. If he does, pleasant surprise, huge boost for the Texans offense. But I would not expect Tank Dell to play for the Texans against the Saints. Let's see here. Couple of what the hells from the fake John McClain. Sumo LR. I wonder if he used to be able to work downfield tomorrow. Saints have a solid defense. Yeah, this Saints defense is really, really good at stopping the run. And by virtue of stopping the run, the Saints put you in some tough passing situations. Second in the NFL in interceptions with 7. But they don't put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. Okay, they've got 7 sacks on the season as a team, and their consistency with pressure is not really there. And you start thinking about, okay, Laramie Tunsil, another week, getting settled, relaxed a little bit. He's in there at left tackle. Fant's been okay from a pass protection standpoint. They're not going to put a lot of heat on C.J. Stroud, you would hope. And so Stroud has time with the routes. Him and Slowick have hopefully been in the lab coming up with a blueprint to beat some of the stuff that they saw from Atlanta. And so the Saints, they don't defend the pass real well by virtue of the fact they don't put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. And you start thinking about C.J. Stroud with a lot of time, routes developing, plays to be made. Now, they put some heat on C.J. Stroud. It's a lot of second and longs and third and longs. You can start to see Atlanta all over again from a passing perspective where everything's not as crisp. Everything's not running on time. They're pressing wide receivers. The Saints press a lot of wide receivers. The Marshawn Lattimore will get in your grill. You can start to see how that becomes a big disadvantage for the Texans, throws off some timing. And I think the way C.J. Stroud put it at the end of the Falcons game was there weren't as many answers out there for the way the Falcons had called the defense. Well, the Falcons defensive coordinator is a Dennis Allen understudy. Like, he coached the Saints before he ended up on the Falcons. So Dennis Allen's the guy that taught him how to run defenses before he ran it for the Falcons last week against the Texans. So you start to worry a little bit, okay, did some of this Dennis Allen stuff, is it going to be there present? Is it going to be tough for C.J. Stroud? Well, if you're not putting any pressure on Stroud, he should be able to find the players and find the time to go in there and go get the big plays, go get some of the stuff we saw from the first 4 weeks that we didn't see in week 5, like that Nico Collins over the middle stuff that you've come to trust. So I'm worried about running the football. The Saints are really, really good at stopping the run. They don't move off the line of scrimmage. In fact, they push the line of scrimmage back quite a bit. Dominant at the point of attack. Some of the best some of the best, so pass rush win rate, run rush win rate. They're some of the best at putting pressure on opposing rushing attacks in the league. They're a really, really tough team. Run stop win rate is what they're good at. They're third in the league in run stop win rate, which is tough to see. So second and long, third and long, we saw some 3rd and 15s. You can't do anything with 3rd and 15. Like, that's how you make a mistake. That's how you throw an interception. That's how you turn the ball over. That's how you take 3 points off the board if you get in the red zone. So you got to be cognizant of, if the rushing attack's not working, try to attack with that passing attack, some of the short passing attack, screens, quick attack, stuff like that. Just try to get loose and make some things happen through the air if it's not getting going on the ground. Gunner's got a question. Cody, surprisingly enough, Kamara is the same guy. Even after all this time, he's still legit. This is year 8 for Kamara, hasn't lost a step. Alvin Kamara is filthy. I mean, he's still very good. This is going to be his 3rd game of the season, and he is still a pass-catching threat. He is still a guy that is dangerous with the ball in his hands. Man, I worry about Alvin Kamara. I really do. I really do. Gunner, I appreciate this, man. Smash that like button. Subscribe. Yeah. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button. Turn on the little notifications so you know when we go live on a random Saturday night, ahead of the Sunday game. And while you're down there in the description, check out Houston Football. And also check out my friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, the best way to play fantasy. It's in the description down below. The link will autofill my code, which gets you 2 times your deposit up to $500. That's right, up to $500 when you put in, you're going to get your deposit doubled. So you put in $500, you get $1,000. You put in $100, you get $200. You put in $50, you get $100. You put in $20, like my buddy Matt, you get $40. Matt's already up to like $200 in his Underdog Fantasy account. He's loving Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em format. Pick'em is very easy and very fun to play. You're just predicting higher or lower on particular stats. And if you get all of your 5 guesses correct, you're going to 20 times your money. And there's even multipliers that sometimes give you more than 20 times your money. Underdog Fantasy, the best way to play fantasy. The link in the description down below, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up as a first-time depositor, use my promo code STOOTS, STOOTS, to 2 times your first deposit up to $500. Up to $500. Game responsibly, please. And let's put together our Texans Underdog Fantasy Pick'em of the week. So, this is Underdog Fantasy. You see it right here. It's predicted stats, and you just go higher or lower. This is Chris Olave for Sunday. I'm going to stay away from him because I can't quite figure out this New Orleans passing attack. But if you put this Chris Olave entry in a Pick'em format, you're entered to win $10,000. You don't even have to win your Pick'em entry. You're entered to win $10,000. That's what the 100K Sunday is about. Underdog Fantasy is always doing bonuses and fun things like that. But we're going to pit a Pick'em together with the Texans, and we will also throw a Saints player in there as well. So, looking at this, CJ Stroud stats, passing touchdowns, it's gassed up a little bit. Let's think about it. Let's maybe come back to CJ Stroud. I'm staying away from the Texans rushing attack, even though just a Dameon Pierce goal line carry is something that you could believe is going to happen. I'm staying away from it. Staying away from Nico Collins for right now. We may come back to Nico here in a moment, but I was looking at it earlier. Noah Brown is back for the Texans. Noah Brown is back. He's going to play this week, and I very much believe Noah Brown is getting more than 1 reception, especially if Tank Dell is not going to play. This is the guy who will get a lot of the snaps replacing him. So we're going to go higher on 1.5 receptions for Noah Brown. The Texans love to kick field goals, so we're going higher on Kaimi Fairbairn, 1.5 field goals made. John Mechie, no Tank Dell, 17.5 receiving yards. He had 22 on the one play against Pittsburgh. Let's throw John Mechie in there as well. I don't like tackle stats. Let's stay away from those. Ooh, I like that Malik Collins is boosted there, but I'm going to stay away from that. You know what? I trust CJ Stroud. Let's put that passing touchdowns in higher. We get a little modifier there, which changes our payout. We got to put a player from another team in there. It can't all be on the same team. We just talked about it. Alvin Kamara, higher on his 60.5 rushing yards. What's everybody think about this one here? Everybody like this? Don't like it? Like the Underdog Fantasy? What do you think about that entry? Put yours together. Send it to me. I'd love to see you guys winning on Underdog Fantasy. It's so easy to play. Noah Brown, Kaimi Fairbairn, John Mechie, CJ Stroud getting us a little bonus there, a little multiplier. and Alvin Kamara. Let's go ahead and throw this in for $10. And I'm confident, but I'm not super confident. I'm going to insure this. So I take a little bit less payout here when I win if I get all 5. But if I get just 4, I still make a little bit, which is fun. Let's put that in. Boom. This is almost a free space here. I would be shocked if Noah Brown is not higher than 1.5 receptions. I'd be shocked. All right, so that is our Underdog Fantasy entry. Again, check out Underdog Fantasy in the description down below. Appreciate you checking them out. They support the channel, so we'd love for you to support them. Get some of these questions, Q&A time as well. So start throwing those questions in there. We'll get to as many of them as they can. Ugly Man Cave. Why do people want CJ to throw an interception so bad? I don't want him to, but it's going to come eventually. So, this feels like the type of opponent that he may do it. Just make sure it's one of those interceptions that acts as a punt. I don't want a red zone interception. I don't want an interception on their own side of the field. If he's going to, get it out of the way. CJ joked he almost threw one in every game this year. So, I just, it doesn't bother him though. So I guess I'm not super worried about it from that standpoint because it doesn't bother him. So maybe it's not something much ado about nothing. So Gunner was responding to somebody. They're not trading for Jerry Jeudy. A, they don't want to spend the draft capital on him. B, Jerry Jeudy's just not very good. And C, they have plenty of options. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, John Mechie, Noah Brown, and Xavier Hutchinson. So not only if you traded for a wide receiver, would you have to move on from one of those guys, which they're not going to. You have to give up draft capital, and the guy's not any good. I don't believe Jerry Jeudy's any good. So they're not going to get Jerry Jeudy. There was no issue or incident involving Dameon Pierce on Friday. He typically speaks to the media in the locker room on Friday. He chose not to speak to the media on Friday. Perhaps he had to go get training, rehab. Perhaps he had something else to do. Perhaps there was a meeting or whatever. Typically, Dameon Pierce speaks on Friday. He chose not to speak on Friday. No explanation was given. I waited for him in the locker room. I was paying attention to where he was. And typically I wait for those guys to be dressed, at least half dressed before I approach and ask them or explain to them, hey, we'd like to have a conversation. But he left the locker room. Noah Brown or Mechie, who will benefit more in this matchup? I could see both of them splitting Tank Dell's reps. Brown got to knock some rust off. Mechie has been getting a little bit more and more and more and more. And he's played 41% of the offensive snaps last week. When you think Dell didn't play in the second half, Robert Woods got banged up. They trust John Mechie. He's been putting more and more and more together. So I would think that they kind of split Tank Dell's reps if Dell can't go. Now, if Tank Dell goes tomorrow, my underdog Pick'em, might be out of the equation. Okay. My underdog Pick'em might be out of the equation. Let's see here. A little Ohio State action there. John Ryan predicted a big day for Dameon Pierce. Ooh. John, if Dameon Pierce goes 150 plus, I'll send you something. I don't know what it is. I'll send you something. A bold prediction. Yeah, I mean, look, they're not trading you Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain costs probably multiple first-round picks. He's a proven big-time corner in this league. You're not trading the draft capital to get Patrick Surtain. It'd be freaking awesome, but you're not trading the stuff to get him. I like this from Frank Z. Bold predictions. Bold predictions. I like this. Is Quateriano a good blocker? He's fine. I wouldn't say he's a good blocker. I wouldn't say he's a bad blocker. I would say that I trust him to an extent more than I've seen Dalton Schultz. Some of Dalton Schultz's moments. Now, again, Dalton Schultz is trying to crack down on a defensive end. You know, he's like moving. The play is like moving, and he's headed towards the defensive end. That's not easy to do. He's had some rough moments. But Quateriano's fine. I was talking with Landry Locker about this. Landry does a great job here on YouTube as well, talking about the Texans. It's tough to get Tegan Quateriano involved because typically in like passing situations, he's probably the fourth or fifth guy that you throw the football to. And CJ Stroud does such a good job of identifying who's open and throwing them the football that you never really get to the point where you're throwing the ball to the Tegan Quaterianos of the world and stuff like that. You're hitting those first or second guys a lot more. Why no Xavier Hutchinson? He runs great routes and has great hands too. I just don't know that he showcased it to the level that Brown and Mechie have. The blocking is a conversation that you need to have about him. Because if he plays outside, you're going to need him to block, hit some of those blocks on the outside. He also plays special teams, which affects his immediate availability sometimes on reps. So I know it sounds like I'm making small excuses. I just feel like the other five guys are better than him. Now, with no Tank Dell, could you see a touch more Xavier Hutchinson? Sure. I just feel like the other five guys are better than him. $50 yards from Mechie. You know what I'd love? I would love a Mechie touchdown tomorrow, and then we get the crane. I can't do the full crane because A, I'm sitting, and B, the camera doesn't capture all of me. But the crane celebration that he did at Bama, I'd love a Mechie touchdown, man. That would be a really cool one, especially during Crucial Catch Month. With the NFL and the conversations around making sure that you catch cancer early so you can treat it, you can attack it. Like a Mechie touchdown tomorrow. It's the only. It's the only home game that they have left this month because they're off next week and then they're in Carolina. So Crucial Catch Mechie touchdown. I need to make a note. I'm gonna wager a John Mechie. I'm gonna wager a John Mechie touchdown tomorrow. Anytime touchdown for Mechie. I'm writing it down right now. Crucial catch, maybe no Tank Dell in Houston. He's finally kind of getting into the rhythm of the offense. Yeah. You think we see any improvement in the run game tomorrow? You better. If you don't run the football well against the Saints, they're going to beat you. If they don't run the football well against the Saints are going to beat them. Now, they don't have to go for like 150 yards on the ground or something crazy, but when you need to run the ball, first down when you trust Dameon Pierce with the ball in his hand, 3rd and 1 in the red zone, when you need 1 yard to keep the drive alive, they need to be able to run the football in some of those spots that they couldn't run the football the previous week. And if they do that, the passing attack's going to be even better than it has been, and they're going to beat the snot out of the Saints. But if they're having trouble running the football, which I anticipate they will have a little bit of trouble, it's a tough Saints defense, then it's going to be a long day. They're going to have to be pristine on the passing attack to take care of business. Sumo LR, could Houston be a top team for Frank Clark? He's a veteran. D'Amico could make him better. So here's the biggest thing about adding anybody to the roster, adding veterans to the roster. Who's losing their spot? Like who is not going to be on the team when you add that guy? And you think about the defensive end room, it's Will Anderson and Jonathan Grenard as the starters, Jerry Hughes and Dylan Horton as the backups. None of those 4 guys are losing their jobs. And then who's Frank Clark playing over? Sure, he could play over Hughes or Horton, but you have Jerry Hughes here as the veteran, as sort of that pass rush specialist because Hughes shouldn't really be in there and stopping the run. And then Horton's a guy that you want to find out about. He's a fourth-round pick. You spent a draft pick on him. So I don't know that Frank Clark's a great fit. Clark also kind of seems like he might be in the mercenary level where it's just good team needs pass rush. Have pass rush will travel to good team. The Texans not quite maybe there yet. So I don't see it from Frank Clark and the fit there. Nothing official. I know Aaron Wilson's reporting that he's not going to play, but until he's inactive tomorrow morning at 10:30, I'm not ready to deem him out. Yeah, Brevin Jordan's had a couple of nice catches in the passing game. The tight ends will be interesting here because Schultz got going last week. Brevin Jordan has had some success. Quintiriano had a catch last week. And then over on the Saints side of things, Foster Moreau is a guy who also had a rare form of cancer. He caught a touchdown last week. Taysom Hill at tight end. And then Jimmy Graham, we remember from the preseason, Jimmy Graham mossed Christian Harris. So I would think, Jimmy Graham going to give it a go on this one. Jawan Johnson, their big tight end, the guy who came on strong at the end of last year, he is not going to play. He's out on this one. As is Lonnie Johnson. I know there were a lot of Texans fans that were hoping to see Lonnie Johnson again, but he's not going to play in this one, unfortunately. You think B.O.B. will have a future in the NFL after he gets ran out of New England? Yeah, people keep kicking the tires on him. They'll keep kicking the tires on him. Is he ever going to be a head coach again? I don't believe so. I don't believe he's ever going to be a head coach again, but people will keep kicking the tires on Bill O'Brien as a part of their offensive staff. Or I'll tell you this much, Bill probably has the reputation from a college standpoint. He could go back down to college and be a head coach somewhere. But I don't see him being a head coach in the NFL anymore. I really don't see it. BCB, why do you think Singletary didn't get any carries last Sunday? Why didn't they use Brevin Jordan after Tank got hurt? Man, I think the adjustment on the fly when it's not going well, they've not shown great ability on that. Slowick talking about Baltimore, if you remember, he felt like he didn't really adjust on the fly very well. And then just in the game last week, like a lot of times when stuff is not going right, it's hard to pull yourself out of it. I do believe Singletary should have got a little bit of run last week, and I would expect him to get more this week than he has been the past couple of weeks. Who's been practicing at left guard, Titus or Josh? Titus Howard is your left guard for this team. Josh Jones is your backup left tackle, backup left guard for this team. Hey, from Northern Illinois, go Bears. Northern Illinois, welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, this is a tough Saints defense, man. They've done a really good job. And here's what concerns me about the Saints as well. We haven't talked about this yet. They've got a lot of guys who have just seen a tremendous amount of football. Just a lot of veterans on this Saints team that have seen so much football. So much football. Cameron Jordan was drafted in 2011. Okay? 2011. Demario Davis has been in the NFL for, it feels like, forever. Tyrann Mathieu has been in the NFL, it feels like forever. Marshawn Lattimore was drafted in 2017. These guys have seen a ton of football. A ton. And by virtue of that, they don't make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of the stuff doesn't surprise them. So even Bobby Slowick deep in his bag, dialing it up, they're not going to show the Saints defense a ton of things that they haven't seen before. So That's what concerns me a little bit about the Saints is how do you trick them? How do you beat them? You may just have to have your guy go out there one-on-one, win, and then CJ Stroud find them with the football. You have to go out there and just Dameon Pierce, you got to hit the hole. Devin Singletary, Damien's not getting it done. You got to hit the hole. Like it may just be those type of moments that decide the game against the Saints because you're not going to trick guys who've been in the NFL for as long as a bunch of these Saints defenders, a bunch of these key Saints defenders have been. You're just not going to trick those guys. Da Bears. I love that skit. Farley and the guy that plays Norm from Cheers, where they do the I got a buddy whose dad looks just like one of those guys. Talks pretty close to him too. For above 500, do you think the Texans will be active by the trade deadline? I mean, what do you want? Like, you're not going to find a safety that's playing over your starters. They trust the linebackers. You're not going to find somebody that's playing over those guys. You're not going to find a defensive tackle that plays over those guys. You're not going to find a defensive end. We just talked about wide receiver. Running back. I mean, I suppose a running back that knows the zone scheme better than the guys that are on the roster. But I just don't see where you add players that matter at the trade deadline. I don't see it. Like there's not a Roquan Smith that you're like, oh, okay, he fits, he's awesome, we got to go get him. Like there's not a guy there that I'm feeling that great about. The Saints fans have shown up and they've been drinking. You had some of those hand grenades on Bourbon Street. You know, I've never been to New Orleans. I really need to go to New Orleans. I've never been. I was going to go for joint practices, and then they canceled the joint practices. But I just know I would love me some New Orleans. I just know I would. I've never been. I really, he said, Artel said he's trolling. I really don't know that it's going to be this high scoring. I'm thinking 17-16, 17-14. I believe both these defenses are going to give the opposing offenses hell. I really do. I don't see how it's going to be a track meet. And when I say track meet, like the Texans, like if it's getting into the early 20s, it feels kind of track meety based on what the Texans have been able to do from a defensive standpoint when they've had success, and what the Saints have been able to do. Points feel like they're going to be at a premium for both these teams. And if somebody starts putting a bunch of points on the board, the other team is probably going to be in a rough spot playing catch up. Stroud might need to take more chances, be a little less safe with the ball. Yeah, I mean, look, that's where plays matter more. If the game's shorter, if you're going to have less plays, if points are at a premium, big chances, trying to make a play, it matters more. It's something that you have to consider doing. He's not super safe with the ball though. Like he'll put it in some spots. Kamara might get 70 yards max tomorrow. Well, as long as he gets 61, I'm good. They like Noah Brown. I know this. I know they like Noah Brown. But I don't see, like, what do you, like, could you trade someone and get a pick? Sure. But like, what does that tell the locker room? Like, hey, you're just a commodity. Like, you've been preaching team, you've been busting your ass since July. And because you have an excess of these guys, like you ship off a guy who's been playing well for a 5th round pick. Like, I don't see it. There's not a position that I feel amazing about their depth that I want to see them ship somebody off. Oh, I know I'd love New Orleans. It's booze and food. I would love me some New Orleans. Yeah, no, I hear great things. I hear great things. Frank Z says 21-17, and even that's a little different. I got the prediction going out tomorrow. I mean, I got a 1-point margin of victory. You know, I got a 1-point margin of victory. Where's the prediction going out tomorrow? It'll be on a free post on Houston Football. Houston Football is the website where I do all my writing. So check out Houston Football in the description down below. You can sign up and subscribe for free. You'll get free stuff all week long. I'll give you free previews of the paid articles. And if you want to subscribe to Houston Football, it is just $7 a month. Just $7 a month. If you sign up for a year, you get 2 months free. You get 2 months free. So, I feel like I'm doing pretty good work over there. Appreciate y'all checking it out. We'll pull up those hats one more time. Take a look at the hats again. I had a hangover type event in New Orleans. I'm trying hard to put that event behind me. Were you missing a tooth or were you the missing friend? Ooh, Rick going pick 6 tomorrow. Oh, okay. So King David Standridge. So David was checking out. I was on with Landry Locker last night, live on his channel. We chopped it up for an hour. And Will Anderson, okay? Will Anderson is 5th in pass rush win rate, okay? That means pressure, having some success against opposing offensive linemen. So Will Anderson is 5th right now in pass rush win rate. So that's pressure. He hadn't turned it into sacks just yet. So he's got pressure. He hadn't turned it into sacks. The elite players are both. They're constant pressure and they're sacks. The elite guys are both. So you think about TJ Watt. You think about Myles Garrett. Okay? You think about Nick Bosa. Pressure and sacks together. That's the elite guys. Good guys have a lot of pressure and they're coming up short on the sacks. It makes sense that Anderson's not elite yet. He's a rookie. He's played 5 games in the National Football League. But I was looking through Baby Bosa and his rookie year. This is about the time in the schedule. It was week 5 and week 6. His rookie year, he had, I think, 4 sacks in 2 weeks. It's about when it kind of clicked for Nick Bosa. And I wonder if it's close to clicking for Will Anderson. And I talked with one of the Texans offensive linemen on Friday because I asked him, and I asked him basically a Will Anderson question. I didn't ask him straight out about Will Anderson, but I was asking, and I was talking to the offensive lineman, and I said, hey, pressure and sacks. How do you, which is more dangerous? Which do you pay more attention to? And the lineman was telling me, he goes, look, pressure is tough because it is constant. Guys who can pressure you constantly, you're always paying attention to them. And that means they individually are doing their job and you have to account for them every time. So guys with high pressure rates are annoying to defend as an offensive lineman. They're annoying to try to game plan for as you put a plan together on your offense. Pressure rates are tough to deal with. The explanation for sacks was guys can get sacks off of broken plays. Guys can get sacks off of one offensive lineman's mistake. Guys can get sacks off of defensive line games, where they, have the end cut inside the tackle and vice versa. And sacks sometimes show up for guys in high numbers that don't have consistent pressure rates. So every sack is not created equal. And then the conversation from that lineman was elite guys like Watt, Garrett, Bosa, they put it together and they have both. They have sacks and they have high pressure rates. And by virtue of that, I feel like Anderson, with one of the highest pressure rates in all of football, is very close to getting a multi-sack day. And I actually believe he's getting a sack tomorrow. That might be one hell of a player prop parlay. Little Will Anderson sack, John Mechie touchdown, little Bama boys, get them going. That'd be great. So definitely feel like Anderson's close to getting some sacks going. And if he doesn't get one against the Saints, I'd be close to betting my house he gets one against the Panthers because they stink. They stink. Britton says, what's up, Stoots? Hoping for a Houston dub tomorrow, man. You and me both, man. You and me both. 3-3 headed into the bye week would be incredible. They'd be ahead of schedule, You'd be looking at the rest of the schedule with 11 games, and you'd be thinking, there's no way they don't win at least 3-4 more. So now you're talking about 6 7 games in the overall wins. And then you start thinking, okay, if you can beat the Saints, which is a really good defense, the Panthers are beatable. The Buccaneers are beatable. The Cardinals are beatable. The Jets are beatable. The Bengals are going to be tough. Okay. Right there, start of November, I think. The Bengals are going to be tough. Or middle of November, whatever it is. That's going to be a tough one. But the Saints one, you lose to the Falcons and the Saints. The difference between 2-4 and 3-3 is drastic for this team. It's drastic. Your vibes heading into the bye week are, vastly different. Especially because of the opponent you have this Sunday. The Saints are a good football team. They're not a great football team. Got a really good defense. And when they get something going on offense, they're a tough out. They have not been able to consistently get something going on offense. They can't score a bunch. So if you put a bunch of points on the Saints, who have a good defense, and you head into the bye week and you're 3-3, and coming out of the bye week, you're going to face, in all likelihood, a winless Carolina team in Carolina. Well, now you're 4-3. And now you start to dream big. Because then the Buccaneers come to town, you can beat Tampa. Well, now you're 5-3. You're 5-3 with matchups against the Cardinals, Broncos, Jets, 2 Titans games, and a Browns game that may or may not have Deshaun Watson. Well, that's 6 very winnable football games. The Jaguars going to come to your place. Put that as 7 winnable football games. And I'm not telling you that you can't beat Cincinnati. It's not impossible to beat the Bengals. The Bengals have been rough. Looks like they kind of got things going. But if you're 2-4 heading into the bye week, you start wondering, are you ever going to be able to run the football? Are you a one-dimensional team? It feels a little bit like 2020, where you could throw the hell out of the ball, but you couldn't get enough key stops and you couldn't run the football. And you don't want to feel like 2020 around here. You do not want to feel like 2020 around here. As Joe Lee here says, Jolie. The Texans could go on another run. Yeah, if you want to go on a run, you want to overachieve, you want to surprise some people in the National Football League, you beat the New Orleans Saints. You start a run. You beat the Saints. You start dreaming about putting 3 in a row together with Carolina and the Buccaneers coming up after that. You take a 3-game winning streak into Cincinnati, and you play the Bengals tough. You want to surprise some people. You want to take your respect back, okay? The NFL, nobody gives you respect. You earn it. You take your respect. The Texans want to take their respect back across the NFL, across the AFC, across the AFC South. Go win some football games and beat the New Orleans Saints, which is a solid to good football team. Take your freaking respect. Mike HOU, Anderson sack is around 210. I know this because I've tried twice already to no avail. Met you TD plus 330. Ooh, that's going to be a tasty little. jump up there. Okay, let's see here. Let's just say that was a $10 wager. What did you say? 210 and 330? So 210, 330. Woo! Pays 12.33 to 1. So 10 would win you 123. I'm in on this. Might throw a fiver on that. Might throw a fiver on that. This Deshaun thing is fun to watch from afar, knowing that you've got the Browns draft pick next year. Like they've got they're in a rough spot there in Cleveland. They don't have a good backup. PJ Walker and DTR are not the guys. They've got the 49ers. That's a loss. They are losing tomorrow. The Colts are tough. The Seahawks. The Cardinals play better, but I feel like the NFL may be starting to figure them out a little bit. But the Ravens are still on the Browns schedule. The Steelers, the Rams, the Jags won't be easy for them to beat. The Bengals to finish, this could get nasty. This could get nasty for the Browns, and the Texans benefit greatly from it. Young Costa. D'Amico seems to be doing a good job fixing mistakes week to week, hoping he can do it with the red zone efficiency this week. 4 field goals ain't going to cut it in the NFL. One of those field goals turns into a touchdown last week. You probably beat the Atlanta Falcons, and then you're on a 3-game winning streak coming into a matchup with the Saints. And then maybe it's 4, maybe it's 5, maybe you start to dream. You start to dream real big. But you couldn't. The one that hurt the most was the first one. 3rd and 1. Should have run should have been able to run the football and get the first down. And you settle for a field goal in the very first one. It kind of set the tone for everything. So red zone would be something that I'd love to get cleaned up. Just some of the cushy defensive back play from last week is something that I'd love to get cleaned up. Gunnar K. I always hear about Joey Bosa. Is Nick Bosa not legit like his brother? Nick Bosa is better than Joey Bosa. So when I talk about Bosa, I'm talking about Nick Bosa. I'll call him Baby Bosa sometimes because he's younger. But Joey Bosa is not anywhere. To me, there's a big separation between Nick and Joey. So Nick Bosa is the guy that I think is the best Bosa. Joey's good. Nick is elite. Nick is one of the best pass rushers in the past 10 years. He is incredible. All right, what else we got? If Nico keeps up, do you pay him after the year? If so, I think he's similar to the Christian Kirk contract. You don't want him to hit the open market because that's when you are bidding against a lot of people. I wonder if Nico Collins, if he's having success this year, is an in-season extension candidate. You could also just tell him, hey, prove that you're good and do it again next year. And if you're good again next year and we can't get a deal done, we'll just tag you. If he has 2 really solid years and you want to franchise tag him to see if he can do a third one, get a third one going, be my guest. I'm not going to freak out if Nico Collins doesn't have a contract. Okay. But Nico's contract situation is something to pay attention to, for sure. SSG Red, hit that like button. It's the little thumbs up button. It's the little thumbs up button right there on the screen. Oh, let's see. Hold on now. I'll show you guys where it is. Let's do a little inception. Has anybody ever done this before? All right, I've inceptioned myself. So now you can see me while you see me. This is where the like button is. It's right here. hit the like button just like that. It even makes like a fun little thing. So don't do that. Don't unlike it. Like it. It makes a little thumbs up thing. Nobody needed Cody Inception tonight, but I give it to you. Every likes are great. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tons of video stuff. Got some fun stuff coming up for the bye week. Okay. Gonna take a little vacation on the back of the week, but I'm working on some bye week stuff. So Saints got Texans, Jags, and Colts. Saints finna be 3-5. Man, the Saints can get the Jags and they can get the Colts and damn, they get the Texans too. Like, I mean, I underestimated the Falcons and they got the Texans. I'm not underestimating the Saints. I may be giving them a little too much credit, but they can just as easily be on a run here. Daniel Salas. The run needs to improve. Saints are cocky after being the Patriots. I've seen a whole bus of fans over at Embassy Suites on Sage being hyped. I told one of them they were due a long ride home. So the spot here, team coming off a big blowout victory over a heritage opponent, and the Texans coming off a disappointing loss. I think the spot lines up perfect for the Texans. I bet they had a great week of practice. Great week of practice. Yeah. Joe Lee, the hurry up, man, it works. The no huddle stuff, man, they have some success doing that. It tires you out though. It's taxing if you do it that much. It's taxing. I mean, the ends and the defensive tackles have to do their job. You have to tackle him for a loss. You have to stop him for little to no gain. If he's getting loose, if the linebackers and the safeties are making the plays on him, you're in trouble. And he'll shake guys. If I'm Henry To'oTo'o, I've had a nightmare or two about Alvin Kamara shaking me this week. I mean, he's good. He's still good. Yeah, I am worried about the Saints contingency. There's a lot of Saints fans that live in Houston, and then it's an easy trip for them to make as well. And if you were a Saints fan and you were trying to pick on the schedule a road game where you thought you could watch your team win, you would have picked this game. The Saints before the season would have marked this down as a win, playing the win-win, loss-loss game. So I am worried about a Saints contingency being there tomorrow. Ian Sullivan, love your stuff, Cody. You're killing it, man. It's fantastic time to be a Texans fan. Win or lose, it's a much more interesting team to watch. You're damn straight about that. You are damn straight about that. Thank you for the kind words, Ian. I appreciate that. Thank you. Saeed, any idea when Scruggs is coming back, and when he comes back, should they put him at center or guard? I thought he'd be back last week. He's not back last week. He didn't practice this week. They got the bye week next week. Maybe he practices ahead of Carolina, but at this point, you have to wonder if he's ever coming off of IR. They haven't even activated his 21-day practice window. I mean, the last time this guy practiced was August. And we're coming up on 2 months where he hasn't practiced because you can't practice when you're on IR. So it's I don't know when he's coming back. And when he comes back, he should play guard, in my opinion. Patterson's done a good job solidifying himself at center, and you may just have to figure it out with Scruggs, How would you feel about Trey Grenard and a day 3 pick for Chase Young or Danielle Hunter? I mean, Grenard's taking care of business. He doesn't cost a lot of money. Those guys are expensive. They got to come in and learn the defense. Grenard knows it. I'm not there. I'm not there for that. Eagles fans are mostly terrible people when they talk about their team and cheer for their team. We need last year's Pierce this week. Yeah. I mean, I would think that think about this from a mentality standpoint too, from what Dameon Pierce is dealing with. Dameon Pierce was one of the only bright spots on the team last year. Okay? He was one of the only bright spots on the team last year. And now he's one of the criticized parts of this team. In a team that's better, doing better, people like more, he's one of the criticized parts. So from a between the ears standpoint, is that tough to deal with? Is that hard for Dameon Pierce to handle some of that stuff? I don't know. You know what would make it handling it all feel really nice? Going out there rattling off a Steelers-like performance, putting together an impressive rushing attack, it would make everything feel better. But it's had to have been a tough 5 weeks for Dameon Pierce. Ooh, Luke says the Petrie game. Petrie had a lot of interceptions last year. Carr might throw him one. I was giving Derek Carr a lot of grief for how few yards and touchdowns he's thrown. He hasn't thrown a lot of interceptions this season. So I didn't want to give him credit that way. Tomas Rodriguez Jr. Seems to me if the offense can get Schultz on track, the run will follow. Hope we're getting there. Yeah, look, I trust Bobby Slowick. When Bobby Slowick stands up there, puts his ass on the line and says, we're close to running the football really well, I have no choice but to believe him. And D'Amico Ryans shows up last Monday and says, we blocked well enough to run the football well, and we didn't run the football well. I believe him. So, maybe the Saints make liars out of those guys, but I believe them. I think D'Amico, C.J. Anderson brought a lot of Texans fans back, but it'll take some consecutive wins to bring more Texans fans in and less opposing fans out. Yeah, look, you lost the first home game against the Colts. You were out of it by halftime. You destroyed the Steelers. That's a team that is always going to be present in your place. And then now you got another team that is that's going to show up pretty well. So it's going to be tough to get a bunch of butts in seats. You win enough, and there will be butts in seats. You win enough, there will be butts in seats. John, appreciate the kind words there. Kamara will often fumble. Calling it now, Christian Harris with a Kamara forced fumble. Let's see. 2 fumbles last year for Kamara. 3 in 2019. He doesn't fumble a lot. Only 7 fumbles in his career. You make Kamara fumble, you're probably on your way. Man, nobody had the vision Arian Foster did. He's elite. He's elite. And Damien's got to be a little bit more patient. He's got to know when to throttle and when to throttle down. It hadn't quite clicked for him just yet. If it clicks tomorrow, the Texans are going to run the Saints out of the building. Oh, look at Johnny here. Went to ACL. I hear the Foo Fighters put on a great show. Put on an absolute great show. I got to make it down to Austin here one of these days and try to go see the comedy show Kill Tony. Love that show. So funny every week. Stand-up comedy show. They pull names out of a bucket and you get 1 minute of stand-up comedy. Have professional comedians up there. This turns into roasting the professional comedians, non-professional comedians. It's great. Love that. Obviously, my former co-host BK is doing some big things out there in Austin as well. So I want to go down there and see him. King David Standridge. Hell yeah, Houston, we got a quarterback. I got to get to bed, but anybody see CJ Stroud's face last week? Got a quarterback, ain't losing this game. It's too magical. You rock as always, see. Look, thank you for the kind words, David. I appreciate that. You're in every game with CJ Stroud there. It feels like you're in every game with CJ Stroud at quarterback. It's crazy to feel that way 5 games into this thing. Even the Colts game, when they started to put some points on the board, you're like, hey, you get a couple of stops and you're right back in this thing. But yeah, it's real close, man. It's real close to being one of the most electric fan QB relationships in all of football. Like, this fan base was ready for a guy like CJ Stroud, and they got him. Young Costa, you gonna be in NRG tomorrow? I will. I'll be out there. Hit me up on Twitter at Cody_Stoots or Instagram, which I also believe is at Cody_Stoots. And let me know where you're at, and I'll try to stop by and say hello. Ayad Ali, did you watch Ric Flair on Kill Tony? Yes, I did. Absolute disaster. Ric Flair, what are we doing here? He was drunk. He didn't understand the show, but it was hilarious. Britain's a Kill Tony guy. Man, I go back and forth with this on Dameon Pierce because I feel like there's some runs where only Dameon Pierce could make the run successful. And then I think there's some runs where because he runs that way, like I watched a clip last week and he gets outside. It's like, he gets to the edge and there's two linebackers and he just goes at the linebackers. And I'm like, dude, keep taking this diagonal and try to beat him to the edge and turn the corner. But he just was like, screw it. I'll just attack these guys. Sometimes it just doesn't quite click. Blue lot tomorrow, section 137 for the Bucks. Okay. Young Costa, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. I'll come try to say hello. Come try to say hello. Yeah, look, it's a big one, man. It's a big one. 2-4 feels a lot different than 3-3, man. Feels a lot different than 3-3. Yeah, 3-3, you're right on the edge of something, man. Ravens versus Titans early game prediction. Ravens dominate them. Lamar's not having another subpar performance like he did last week. The wide receivers let him down. Pass catchers let him down last week. Lamar's going to go nuclear tomorrow. Nuclear. All right, let's throw this on there. Do a little screen share. Let's see here. All right. What do we think on the hats here? I showed these the other night. I'm talking to my hat guy. I'm talking a little bit about what to put on the hats, what kind of hats. I noticed a lot of people really liked the trucker hat. Do we prefer the trucker hat over the two-tone? And if we like the trucker hat style, which that's the most people have liked the trucker hat. If we like the trucker hat style, we want multiple colors. Okay, so yeah, there's Johnny. Trucker in red. Yeah. Okay. All right, so a couple different colors on the trucker hats. Is that what we're thinking? I've almost gotten to the point where I don't think I'm going to do the top one, the two-tone, the flex fit. One, not that many people said they liked it. Two, it comes in different sizes. It's not a snapback. So it comes in different sizes. So it's tough to figure out what size fits everybody. The trucker hat with the snapback, I mean, it fits everybody. All right, so we want trucker hat in red, a button-up work shirt, and a patch, the whole 9 yards. Man, I mean, we can work on it. We can work on a bunch of different things. Work on a bunch of different things. Let me pull up another hat here. Pull up another hat just to. Oh, stop doing this here. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up another hat that I really liked. It's another hat company. They do snapbacks. Okay. Let's pull this hat up here. All right, we're going to stop sharing this screen. So we like the trucker hats. Okay. We like the trucker hats. Let's share this screen here. Do we like these? Get out of here. Free thing that I'm not going to use or take. Do we like these type of hats? They're a snapback hat. They got the little rope there. Now, obviously, this one's the H-Town blue, the Oilers blue, whatever. I don't know that we would put the logo on this one. I think we would just do across the front, we just do a script that just said, it's like a cursive writing that just said Houston football. Across the front, maybe on a color like this, maybe in red with white outline. They got different colors. Let's see what the navy one looks like. Might be a little dark for the logo, but not bad. We don't want the black and whites. We don't want the white and black. But this with a Houston football, maybe white to match the rope. So Houston football across the front, red outline on a blue hat. I like these type of hats. Love you blue and red rope. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the trucker hats, the super popular one. So we're going to get some of those. We're going to get some of those. I showed you the blue. We'll get some reds. Somebody asked for a blue front with the white mesh. I'll work on that. See if I can get that as well. And then maybe we'll do like some one-off specialty stuff from that standpoint. So, if we get the red hats, it works out with the red helmets. And I've got a hunch we're going to see more. We're going to see more red. We're going to see more red helmets in the future. Light blue, the white letters and red outline would be kind of dope. All right, we'll work on that. With the I'm going to look like a doofus when I show you this. This is kind of what I wanted. You can't see that. Now you can. That's kind of what I want it to look like a script, flowy Houston football. That's my awful handwriting. But just obviously with the logo ones, the Houston football logo ones. And I want one that just says Houston football because I want you guys to be able to wear it wherever you want. But also you guys do a lot to take care of me already. If the thing just says Houston football, that looks cool and you can wear it anywhere with anything. Sometimes you throw a logo hat on. It's like, what's that logo? And you got to explain. Oh, this is fat guy I watch on YouTube. Talks about the Texans all the time. But I appreciate y'all. Got some new stickers in the works. I'm out of Era Good Vibe stickers. There's no more Era Good Vibe stickers, but I got some new stickers in the works. So working on that. And working on the hats. A couple people have said stuff about shirts, so we'll look into shirts. And then we'll get some giveaway stuff going. When the hats get in, we'll do some giveaways with the hats. I'm going to do some giveaways, some raffles with the Houston football subscriptions. I can comp you guys if you win a raffle this much or so on and so forth. And what else from a housekeeping perspective? Still got to do some gift card giveaways. So those will come a little bit later on. I'm trying to figure out a way for you guys to be able to purchase them if you'd like to purchase them. I don't know exactly how to do that, but I can figure it out. It's not super difficult, but we'll raffle some of them. We'll have some of them for purchase. Maybe we'll have different ones or exclusive ones that are only raffle items. Some of them that are only purchase items, something like that. We'll play around with it. What you guys want is what I'm going to do. You guys want the trucker hats. We're going to get some trucker hats. Okay. And we'll find out a way to get them to you. Sell them or raffle or whatever. D Love showing up. Can't give Derek Carr all day to throw the football. I mean, he's been sacked at least twice in every game. Will Anderson's got to get in there. Grenard's got to get in there. I'd love to see Malik Collins and Sheldon Rankins get in there from the defensive tackle spot. But yeah, you heat Carr up, he'll throw you one. And you can have some success with that. DL jumping in here. What up, Cody? Just tuned in. Not sure if you touched on it yet, but thinking Mechie should still have a good day if the Saints double Collins. Mechie and Brown, I believe, are going to share Tank Dell's reps if Dell can't go, which I don't expect Dell to go. And so yeah, Mechie, we put an underdog pick'em earlier. We did higher on Mechie's yards. So it just takes one. Like Mechie's got some yak to him. Think about the Steelers game. He ran that little across the middle. He ran over a Steeler. You think about the game against Jacksonville. He ran through that guy for the first down. So I'm excited. All right. Houston football tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Final thoughts. It'll kind of recap some of the stuff we've talked about on the video, but the score prediction will be on there. We'll be on Twitter a bunch pregame at Cody_Stoots. Be sure to follow me there. You can sign up for free for Houston football down below in the description. And you can check out Houston football for free there. At Cody_Stoots on Twitter tomorrow. You need to set up an early daytime YouTube live stream link in your live streams on your account so more of us can plan to be. Oh, okay. Like scheduling it ahead of time. Like I know I'm going to do it at this time, this night. It's a good point. I need to do that. And this is also my favorite football play to call. 119 does it. 55 sweet. So, all right. That'll do it for us tonight. Us. Do it for you. Do it for me. Hope you're having a fantastic night. Over 130 people in here, man. That's awesome. Have so much fun doing these. Just talking with you guys, getting to learn a little bit more about you guys. Talk about this Texans team that is so fun to talk about. I'm having a blast. You guys make this the best job in the world, man. I have so much fun doing this, and it's awesome. And I appreciate all the thumbs ups on the video. I appreciate all the likes. I appreciate all the subscriptions, the shares. Check it out, Houston football. Y'all are the best. Y'all take care of me, way better than I deserve, and I really appreciate that. I want to, as much as I can, show the gratitude to you guys and gals and everybody. I am very thankful for all of you. And if you watch a minute or you watch every minute, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. We finish the live streams the same way every time. It's my charge to you. It's my hope for you as well. I'd like for you to eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thank you, everybody.